Hey guys, welcome back to the Untitled Marvel Project. It's good to be back, everyone. I missed you, and you, Tucker, from last week. I haven't seen you since, but we're
Well,
back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about episode 4 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as we are every week to break down the Marvel content that we receive graciously from our Disney Plus overlords.
we've been talking about episode 4 for a long time. Every week we just talk about episode
We
4.
break down episode, which is weird because this is the week that it came out. But regardless, we're actually going to break down the content of this episode. So
hmm
if you like us doing that, you better like and subscribe to this
Yeah.
channel. Well, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also join the Discord. That link's in the description.
hmm
But let's talk about the episode because that's what people came here for.
Yeah.
Tucker, what do you think of episode 4 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Coming off of last week, which I think both of us were a little bit underwhelmed by,
Yeah.
content wise, pacing wise, character wise. This was definitely a nice change of pace. I think this episode really did interesting stuff, developing all its characters, giving them a lot of time to sort of bounce off one another in terms of having political discussions and what their plans are and agreements and disagreements. And from that perspective, this was a great episode. I think it
Yeah.
had some some pretty good action sequences, not
Yeah.
super memorable, but they were well choreographed, solid stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and not a ton of huge moments, but the ones that were, I'm glad this is a nice episode. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should. I think we want to. I think we want to peak early with this one. I think we start with the climax of the episode
Okay.
mostly because Tucker, I want to ridicule you and embarrass you live on the internet, or not
Mhm.
live, but Tucker, do you remember when you said, "Oh, everyone's being too hard on John Walker. John Walker is probably going to turn out to be a good guy in the end." Remember when you were saying that? Probably on this show specifically, and to also me in our private lives.
I
Remember
remember when
whenever
I'm saying that in this discussion about this episode.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Because
Yep.
obviously, as people know, John Walker turned out to be a cold-blooded murderer in front of many people. You still think
Yep.
he's going to be a good guy? How exactly do you connect those dots in your mind?
I certainly think, and maybe I'm just relying a little bit too heavily on my comic book knowledge here, is that John Walker has been a hero for a long time. It is a known fact about his character that he has tough time dealing with loss. He has anger management issues, but I don't think that makes him a villain. He watched his friend get murdered in front of him and reacted that way. It was an overreaction. But for the rest of the episode, not the entire rest, but there were moments of humanization and characterization for him in his conversations with Lamar that still point to the fact that he's trying his best to do what he can with this super soldier serum that spoilers, but we're talking about the episode.
Yeah.
He now has. He can possibly fill the shoes of Steve Rogers a little better, and it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. But I guarantee you, by the end of the last episode, he will be redeemed in some way.
I don't think so. I think you're totally off base there. I think that what we're getting is a villain origin. Well, not I don't think he's going to be a larger villain, but I think he's pretty clearly set up as an antagonist in the story. I think the actions that we've seen him take, the character journey that he's taken thus far is very clearly antagonistic. And as much as I'd like to see him, brought back around, I think that'd be interesting. They won't. They're not going to do it.
You, I don't think you hold enough faith in the Marvel writing room
I think you
to
hold too
subvert your
much.
expectations.
I think you hold too much, my friend.
Well, it's not high expectations because then they would just be basing it properly off the comics. That's a normal thing.
Well, yeah, you have
What?
too much. You have that expectation that they're going to.
Whatever. All right. What other? You know what else happened in this episode?
What's that?
Dora Milaje showed up and then fucking kicked everyone's butt.
They were kicking ass and taking goddamn names. They embarrassed John Walker, and it was great. I was here for it.
They were chewing bubblegum and kicking ass
Yeah,
at the same time.
and taking names, which is the
Eh,
correct quote of that.
Wait.
Wait,
Yeah,
no, it's not. I'm
no.
wrong. You're right.
Fuck.
But regardless, that was a pretty good action scene. You're right.
Yeah. No. I think that's probably the at least action highlight of the episode for
Yeah,
me.
it's also like the comedy highlight because you got that bit where Sam and Bucky are kind of sitting back just watching it go down, and I think Sam has the line, or no, I think it's Bucky is like looking strong, John. He's just getting his ass handed to him. It's great.
Yeah. And the other aspect of this episode, because honestly, that didn't play out as much as I thought it would be. They kind of just showed up for an action sequence and disappeared.
Yeah, where did they go?
Uh,
Who's to say?
well, I mean, all it served was to set Zemo loose as he fucking escaped like a rat through the sewers.
Yeah,
But the rest of this episode, very, very, very focused on Carly Morgenthau.
true.
And developing her character a little bit more towards the villainous side, discussing her the political values of the Flag Smashers a little bit more, which I think is interesting. I'm a little bit underwhelmed by the fact that they're leaning so heavily on just Carly and giving fucking nothing to her buddies, which we realized halfway through the episode we don't even know their names.
Nope.
And if we did, they were like in passing. It's not like
Yeah.
clear. Which kind of makes that feel unbalanced, in my opinion. Like they're clearly trying to humanize her as a character in some ways and create an interesting villain, which I think she is. But the fact is, she's the leader of a group and she's got buddies who are just one note.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're interchangeable because she has the two buddies, and it was only about, I think it's when they are both in a scene together that we're like, oh, that's right. This different guy was in the last episode, and this has been a new guy this whole time that she's talking to. So yeah. That's not great. But I think I overall enjoyed like the discussions of the politics in this. I think they're well written at the very least. The discussions between Carly and Sam. Carly really did come into her own in this episode because she's actually making outward threats and like really taking a charge in this whole scenario. Of course, because her plan kind of got thrown out of whack by Zemo destroying all but one of the super soldier serum, and John Walker took the last one. So yeah, I mean, they can write another way to get super soldier serum in, but presumably that is the last of the super soldier serum that we've gotten in this universe.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I'm fine with that. It'll play into the story. John Walker stuff will finish out, and it'll be like, well, we can at least move on from the super soldier serum, because presumably from what this episode was kind of setting up is that this new super soldier serum enhances every aspect of you, including the negative aspects. Whether that means that this is like a obviously different formula from.
Well, I think it does the same. Captain America is the same thing because they had to give it to a good guy. That's what Dr. Erskine said. He's like, it enhances every part of you.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's true. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen First Avenger, but I'm kind of glad that they're moving away from it. One of the most annoying fucking things in the comics. It's just like people showing up. Oh yeah, we got super strength now. Fucking great. And half the superhero origin stories are just because people were trying to recreate Captain America's super soldier serum.
Yeah.
Fucking Wolverine with Hulk with like, it's just
speaking of recreating the powers, we get there's a cultivating fan theory online that what's her name? Sharon Carter. Sharon Carter is the power broker. Yeah. And I don't think we get a confirmation either way in this episode, quite honestly. I mean, she speaks about the power broker in the third person again. So, who's to say? I don't think so. I don't think it's the case, but what do you think?
I think it could go good, reasonable storytelling either way. If it's an entirely new character, why not set it up a little bit earlier on as a more developed character and like the influence of the power broker and all that?
Yeah.
But so that kind of leans me towards, okay, maybe it is an established character that we're already familiar with, because they can reintroduce it. It's a pop, and we already have a connection to that character. We know who they are. We don't have to have a fucking exposition dump of that character. But if it's not, that's fine too. I mean, Power Broker doesn't have to be a super complex character, but I just wish that it was a little more involved, because I think that's such a compelling storyline. The Power Broker existing, period. Yeah. So just continuing to hear references, not see anything, is like,
well, I think the fact that we haven't seen him yet means that they are building up to some sort of reveal, whether it be Sharon Carter or maybe even like Zemo on the down low, or it might just be like a recognizable actor as well.
True. We did get the Power Brokers guys chasing the Flag Smashers onto a plane that one time.
Yep.
Was one of those the power broker? Do we know?
I don't think so because the guy that we thought was the power broker called the power broker.
Oh,
So
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, totally forgot that.
Um, I want to talk about a lot of the things that we've been talking about are in the latter half of this episode because the first half is pretty meh. It's very much a carryover from episode 3 where it's like
Mm,
I could really give or take this because there's a there's that really weird plan they have, and this is an issue with the entire show, is that we'll be sitting down to watch the episode, and they're like, "Wait, how did they get here? Why is this their plan?"
yeah.
Like they just show up to that Flag Smasher headquarters building, and like,
Hmm.
how did they figure out where this was again? I don't really remember. And then they're just like they're just walking around asking people like, "Hey, do you know this person? Do you know Danya? Is that her name? Danya?
Sure. Mama Danya, yeah.
Mama Danya?" And they're like, "No," and they walk away, and they're like, "Well, there goes our
Yeah,
plan, I guess."
it's a really weird part of the episode for multiple reasons because that's kind of just feels weird and empty. Like it isn't. It's clear but not overt that these people don't trust them and are running away. Like they're just kind of
Yeah,
like, "Oops, and they slink out." And then also, Zemo offers a bunch of candy to the kids.
yep,
Kid tells him where Mama Donya's funeral is going to be.
yep,
He tells her, "Don't trust these guys. They're not to be trusted. They're terrible." Because he wants to keep the information of Mama Donya's funeral to himself, so he has some leverage. Um, but then next scene, he tells him where it is, and they go
yeah,
there, which kind of negates the entire like emotional impact or planning of that
yeah.
scene.
I definitely thought it was a larger plan, but it just kind of got that yeah undermined. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, but I don't know where the rest of this narrative is going to go. Quite honestly, I mean, obviously Zemo is going to be a larger villain. Do you think he's going to be a big villain outside of this, or is he going to get recaptured at the end of the series?
Mm. I would say this is probably this and Civil War are enough for him.
Yeah.
Screen time wise, I think he probably dies at
Oh,
the end of
really?
this. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, just because we've seen him be redeemed, but then also not. So like he's had his whole
Yeah.
set of character moments here, and also him being Baron Zemo, he can have a plan
Pretty.
that
Yeah.
comes to fruition through later people, even after he dies.
Hmm.
So
There's been
it's not like
multiple. There's been multiple Baron Zemos in the comics, haven't there?
I don't think so. Not that I
Oh
know of.
well, then
But
never mind. Disregard that. Um, well, I took some notes here.
oh,
Uh,
holy shit! I've never taken notes on a Marvel show before.
I got 4 notes. I like the White Wolf scene that the episode opens with them like de what's what I'm looking for here, untraining the Winter Soldier to be a killer and brainwash and stuff. I
Well,
like that scene.
I think what they were doing is just proving that he's not under the mind control
I
anymore.
mean, yeah, but it took place after the untraining. Since
Yeah.
I'm coining that word because that's not a real word.
Um, I thought this scene was fine. It's one of the first instances in this show because this show feels pretty high budget, it feels pretty grand,
Yeah,
but it was very obvious that hey, we don't have the budget to do anything in Wakanda, so we're gonna have it in a forest. We don't
yeah,
have the budget to get and like a bunch of actors, so it's just gonna be the two of them.
yeah. We don't have the money to get Denai Guerrera or
Yeah,
Letitia Wright or anything like
yeah.
that. Although Tucker, there's the rumor mill is a spinning real quick, and they're spinning up. Well, this is not a rumor actually. The director confirmed this. The director said this that episode 5 will have a moment, a character potentially,
A moment.
a moment or a character
No
potentially
way. A moment in a show.
that it's gonna change everything and it's gonna make you cry. That's what he said. That's what the director said.
Hmm. And so the the current game theory is that it's the presumably last appearance of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
there's basically. I mean, when I told you about this earlier, we basically had the two theories that it's either Steve Rogers or T'Challa.
Old Steve Rogers, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I still think is I think I honestly think they're both likely.
Yeah.
Not that they'll both happen. But
Well, yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out next week. I'm kind of excited because we got 2 episodes left of this, so this is wrapping up.
yeah.
And this is sort of a critique of the show, but it feels weird to be wrapping up because like the whole narrative feels kind of meandering. Like it doesn't really feel like we're coming to a climax of it.
Well, yeah, because there's a new climax every episode.
True.
Yeah, it's not exactly building, at least as much as WandaVision clearly was.
Yeah, true.
But I
I'm not.
think honestly, through this episode, I realized something I find really compelling about this show, even if it's not my favorite Marvel project or anything,
Mhm,
is that it does paint a really complex political narrative of everyone having their motivations and
mhm,
being somewhat believable, and they're all being fleshed out, and no one can necessarily exactly trust one another. And you've got 4 or 5 different sides. So you've got
yeah,
Sam
true.
and Bucky who work together but don't exactly completely trust each other. You've got Zemo, you've got Lamar and John Walker, you've got Carly, you've got Sharon Carter, and all of these characters are written enough. They have enough screen time. None
Mhm.
of them feels like they're completely shaft. Although Sharon Carter's pretty
Yeah,
bad.
Sharon Carter is on the line there.
Yeah, she was the last one that was like kind of
Yeah. Oh
towing
yeah.
the existence there. But I think that's really interesting. It's a pretty complex web of each relationship changing
Yeah.
every episode, and
They
so
are they are
I'm glad
taking
about that.
advantage of the longer runtime of these
Yeah, for sure.
of this project. So we'll be back with the penultimate episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And let's talk. Or you have anything else to add about the series?
No, I'm good. I mean, we'll
Okay.
just see if we cry
Or
next
see if
episode.
we see if we cry because we famously have cold, dead, cynical hearts. So
Yeah.
we'll see if we cry. The ball is in your court, Marvel. The ball is in your court. Can you make us
Oh,
cry?
little
I
prop comedy
I'm
there.
doing prop comedy. That's my new thing for this show. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Ba-da ba-da-da, ba-da-ba-da, ya ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da-da, ba-da-ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-da-da,
I can't put that in the
ba-ba.
video because we're gonna get copyright claimed because that was too close and too good to the actual thing.